Luiza, we released the Algrano Market Trends Review 2022. Why do you think the industry needs another report?
So this is the second time that we're doing a market review like this. The first one was in 2021. And we think that the industry needs this because the majority of the reports out there, they are targeted at buyers and like big commodity buyers mostly. They focus on supply and what kind of conditions bring market price variation. And there's not that many reports that focus on the demand side, so like on roaster behavior and sourcing behavior. And there's not a lot of information that's accessible to producers, especially for free, like the report is. So I think this report's quite different from what's out there, and it can be like a useful tool for a lot of producers and cooperatives.
You were in charge of the report, so tell us a bit how it was elaborated.
So we hired two external consultants. It was Nora Berkey from the Chain Collaborative in the US and Elisa Crescioni of Digital Coffee Future in Italy. And I helped them like coordinate and like think about, so what is it that we're going to look into? And we wanted to look a lot on the like the current set of circumstances that the coffee supply chain is going through right now. So like shipping crisis, COVID, the reduced production in a lot of countries, including the majority of Latin America, and the increase in prices. So I discussed with them what we wanted to investigate and so like what trends we wanted to look into based on the circumstances, and they created like a questionnaire for roasters, producers, sector organizations, and also a big survey for us to distribute. So we ended up surveying roasters in 13 European countries, producers in 15 countries, in all continents, and interviewed, I think it was like around 26 people as well, from industry leaders in roasting, in producing, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a really good piece, and I really enjoyed reading it. I've had so much good feedback from people in the industry. That's also why we're doing this interview. Thanks a lot to all the people that were involved in doing it. I think it's unique. I really think it's unique. But what I'm interested most is like, what were you surprised, or what was your highlight when you read the report for the first time?
So I had to read the report a couple of times to build the executive summary, which was the only thing that we as Algrano wrote in the report. And a lot of data, 50 odd pages, quite a lot of information. And for me, what was really interesting is that one of the questions that we asked roasters on the survey, we asked like, what are their main challenges when it comes to sourcing coffee? And not a lot of people said there's too much coffee available. That was one of the options. They like, no, there's too little coffee available, like not enough variety of coffees around. It's not one of the challenges for nearly anyone as well. But a lot of people said that they find it really hard to find coffees that are unique, and also to find coffees at the right price. And we didn't define those things, but we let them kind of like choose what would be unique or the right price for them. And the way that I read that is that if they are struggling to find coffees at the right price, is because they're not making the link like between the quality that justifies a given price that the producers are asking for, and also if they can't find a coffee that is unique enough, given the fact that there is enough variety out there, it's because there's not enough differentiation. So there's not that the coffees are not differentiated themselves, but the market doesn't perceive or doesn't understand this differentiation. So I find that like really interesting.
Yeah, it's when I read the report, it was exactly the moment that I came back from Boston, and I had a discussion in Boston with one of the world's top traders in coffees, the CEO of that entity, and he told me, Raphael, direct trade is just decreasing. And when I read the report, or read the report the first time, I think the second graph showed me that more than 60% of roasters want to buy more coffee through direct trade, and more than 60% of producers want to sell more coffee through direct trade. And I think this is really, really interesting, because this report was able to show, even though we were focusing on prices, even though we were focusing on logistic crisis, etc., it's able to show long-term trends. And I would expect, this results would show up again next year, and hopefully be even stronger next year.
But just to add something to that as well, if the majority of reports out there, they look into what brings volatility to prices, so how can people anticipate certain trends and prepare themselves or hedge or whatever. We want to look into what brings stability to the market, so that's why we wanted to include questions about relationships, and we saw that, like, from both sides, they say that relationships act as shields for to secure coffee, so you can have supply and to have better prices as well on both sides.
And certainly help also to differentiate, which everybody sees as a big challenge. What do you, if we go a little bit on the short-term effects that the report looked at? Let's start with logistics. What were the main findings?
So the shipping crisis was quoted by everyone. Everyone talked about it as a big problem that people are facing right now. It's widespread in the entire industry. And yes, everyone is getting their coffees delayed. So some of the roasters that we interviewed, they also mentioned that they had some quality issues because of these delays. The coffee wasn't tasting as good as when they first tasted it. But it was really interesting to observe that they did not cancel contracts more because of these delays. They tried to work on a solution with their partners. So like when relationships were in place, they were able to find solutions. And they a lot of the times this involved like creating new blends and having more agile blend components as well. So maybe like even sometimes looking into other origins that they can ship at different times to have a bit more flexibility in when they're going to have their coffee, so they don't have everything stuck in a container somewhere. The other thing that was very interesting from the roaster side is that it seems like and this is about specialty roasters, right? So like roasters are very used to buying spot and thinking about coffee only when the coffee arrives at the destination. In this case, we see that they are starting to buying or looking into buying coffee earlier as well, and that's something that's like more professional buyers or bigger traders do for a long time, and we see that like smaller and more specialty roasters are also doing that now. So that's kind of like a behavior change that's quite significant.
Thank you very much, Luiza, for these first
Thank
insights.
You.
What else can we discover in the report?
So there's a lot of information about how roasters are reacting to the price increase in the market, so what they're doing with their own consumers, how producers are reacting on their side as well, so like the state of competition in producing countries, if they're planting more coffee or not planting more coffee to take advantage of the prices, and what's really important as well, like what's driving differentiation on both sides. So that's something that we talked a little bit about earlier. There's some like interesting data that shows opportunities that exist at the moment for both roasters and producers to differentiate themselves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The report is available in English, Spanish and Portuguese. As you said, it's free, so please get your copy on algrano.com, read through it, share it with other industry partners. It's really a piece of work that deserves a lot of attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.